What if a single military strike could shake the very foundation of international law? What if the rules that were created to prevent global war are slowly being ignored? And what happens when some of the world's most powerful countries are accused of breaking those rules? Right now, leading international law scholars and United Nations experts are raising serious concerns about recent United States and Israeli military strikes against Iran. Their warnings are not just about politics or military strategy. They're about whether these actions may violate one of the most fundamental rules of the modern world: the prohibition on aggressive war. In this video, we're going to break down what happened, why experts believe the strikes may be unlawful, and why this controversy could have serious implications for the global legal order. Let's take a closer look. At the center of this controversy is one of the most important principles of modern international law. After the devastation of World War II, countries around the world came together to create the United Nations and establish a legal framework designed to prevent large-scale wars between states. One of the key pillars of that framework is the United Nations Charter, particularly Article 2, Paragraph 4. This rule prohibits countries from using military force against the territorial integrity or political independence of another country. In simple terms, nations are generally not allowed to attack each other. But there are two very specific exceptions. The first is if the United Nations Security Council authorizes military action. The second is self-defense if a country is responding to an armed attack. According to several international law experts, the recent strikes against Iran may fall outside both of these exceptions. Legal analysts say the strikes were carried out without authorization from the United Nations Security Council. That immediately raises questions about whether the attacks were legally justified under international law. Even more concerning, experts say there had been no prior armed attack by Iran against either the United States or Israel that would clearly trigger the right to self-defense. Ben Saul, a United Nations Special Rapporteur who focuses on human rights while countering terrorism, described the strikes as unlawful. According to Saul, this situation does not meet the legal threshold for self-defense. Without a clear armed attack or authorization from the Security Council, military action may violate the rules that govern international conduct between states. Some legal scholars are even warning that such actions could potentially fall under what international law defines as the crime of aggression, a serious violation involving the use of armed force against another state without legal justification. Supporters of the strikes argue that Iran's missile and nuclear programs pose an imminent threat. Officials from the administration of Donald Trump reportedly justified the action by claiming it was necessary to protect American lives. But the concept of an imminent threat in international law has a very strict definition. Legal scholars explain that an imminent attack must be immediate, overwhelming, and leave no alternative options. In other words, the danger must be so urgent that waiting would make its self-defense impossible. Some experts say there was no clear evidence that Iran was preparing an immediate attack that met this legal threshold. If that standard wasn't met, then the strike may be considered what's known as a preemptive attack. And that doctrine is widely viewed as unlawful under international law when it's not tied to an immediate danger. Beyond the legality of starting the conflict, experts are also raising concerns about how the strikes were carried out. In the laws of war, there are strict rules designed to protect civilians. These rules require armed forces to distinguish between military targets and civilian infrastructure. They also require that the use of force be proportional to the military objective. Reports have surfaced claiming that an attack on a girls' school in the Iranian city of Minab resulted in the deaths of at least 165 people. If verified, such an incident could represent a serious violation of international humanitarian law. Organizations that monitor civilian protection, say attacks on schools, hospitals, and other civilian spaces, raise extremely serious legal and moral concerns. Even during war, these places are supposed to be protected. And according to international law experts, once a conflict begins, both sides are bound by these rules. That means Iran's retaliatory missile and drone strikes are also being scrutinized, especially if civilian sites such as airports, hotels, or energy facilities were intentionally hit. But the controversy surrounding these strikes goes beyond this single conflict. Many scholars believe the world is witnessing a broader erosion of the rules that have governed international relations since the end of World War II. Conflicts like the Russian invasion of Ukraine and ongoing military operations in places like the Gaza Strip have already placed enormous strain on the international legal system. Experts warn that if powerful nations increasingly justify military actions under broad claims of self-defense, the prohibition on the use of force could begin to lose its meaning, and that would represent a significant shift in the global order. For decades, the rule against aggressive war has been one of the strongest safeguards against large-scale interstate conflict. But that rule only works if countries respect it and if other nations hold violators accountable. The current situation raises a critical question. Are the rules of international law still strong enough to restrain powerful nations? Or are they becoming more symbolic than enforceable? International law does not have a global police force. Instead, it relies on cooperation, diplomacy, and pressure from other states. If those mechanisms weaken, the system that was built to prevent another world war could begin to fracture. That's why legal scholars say debates like this one are so important. They're not just about one conflict, they're about the future of the international system itself. As tensions continue and diplomatic efforts struggle to gain traction, the outcome of this controversy may shape how international law is interpreted for years to come. The situation is still evolving, and the legal debates are far from over. But one thing is clear. The questions being raised by international law experts today go to the heart of the global rules designed to keep peace between nations. Whether those rules will hold or gradually weaken may depend on how the international community responds in the days and months ahead. If you found this breakdown helpful and want more videos explaining global events, international law, and world politics clearly and simply, make sure you support the channel. Don't forget to like the video, share it with others, and subscribe for more content like this. Your support helps bring deeper conversations about world affairs to more people. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next video.